Do you want to know where to go fishing this weekend, what to target, where to go, and all the sort of secret spots that's going to help you catch more fish this weekend? Stick around to the end because I'm going to reveal some nice spots for you all. So first things first, let's get into the fishing report and talk about what's been biting around Sydney. Kingfish again have been on fire, particularly on plastics. And over the last month or two, they've been more on live baits. But over the last 2 weeks, we've seen some more captures on soft plastics. Daiwa Wave Minnow, 3-inch in the baby bass color, has been producing some nice kingfish. Kingfish upwards of 1 meter. There's been a few nice ones being caught. Obviously targeting those bigger size kingfish with those 3-inch style soft plastics, you need to be looking for a thicker gauged jig head to be able to protect yourself from those hard fighting fish and protect yourself from the reef. A few people have been going out using soft plastics and surface walkers particularly in the morning, and then the soft plastics throughout the day. Moving on to offshore, and we've had some pretty decent conditions over the last week to head out offshore. There's been some nice snapper being caught as well. Just south off the Port Hacking, off Jibbinbommy and at Boomerang Reef, as well as the hump further down south, has been producing some nice snapper over the last week. We should see that slowly start to dissipate over the next couple of months, and the snapper will start to head out to the deeper reef. So Boomerang Reef's a really good one, and obviously the hump, if you've got a boat to be able to get down there, are good throughout the whole year. And this is the time to be able to head out to those deeper reefs and using jigs or floating down a bait into those deeper water have been producing some nice snapper as well. Moving on to the flathead, there's been some really nice flathead being caught both in the Port Hacking and Botany Bay, even on the run-in tide, as well as obviously the run-out tide. And I know over the last couple of reports, I've said run-out tide is the easiest tide to catch flathead. You can catch them on any tide, run-in tide, run-out tide, top of the tide, bottom of the tide. You can catch them any of the times. The run-out tide is the easiest time to be able to target them. But a few people have been heading out on that run-in tide and fishing on the edges as the water slowly fills up over the flats, and fishing all those edges with a lot of success. Using 3-inch Daiwa prawns along with the Daiwa Wave Minnow as well. Baby bass color, bloodworm have been the two really good soft plastics to be able to use for the flathead. So moving on to where to go fishing this weekend, and let's look at Saturday. Saturday has a moving wind direction throughout the whole day. In the morning, it's going to start at about a southerly, turn to southeast, easterly, and then to our traditional summer breeze, which is a nor'easter. So the wind conditions are quite variable, and they're predicted to be quite variable. Again, please go check your weather apps at all times. Make sure you check them before you go out, because what I'm talking about is a prediction, and it could change between now and when you go out for a fish. So for Saturday, we're looking at the tides more than anything, again, because that wind will be shifting quite a lot. We're going to take that factor out of it, and we're going to particularly look at the tide. We've got a low tide at 8 and a high tide at 2:30. Now that low tide at 8 to the high tide at 2:30 is a stronger tide than the run out tide in the morning. So if we're going to fish in the morning and the afternoon, we're going to sort of target two different things. If I'm fishing in the morning, it's the back end of that run out tide. I'm going to be fishing edges for flathead, just like the fishing report. There's been lots of flathead about. And the key thing is that run out tide is such a good tide to target flathead. So that's what I would be doing Saturday morning. Towra, along Towra there, along the flats of Towra, along the edges there, Bundeena and Main Bar are all really great spots to be able to target some nice flathead in that morning. Now, as the tide turns and goes to that running tide, if we're going to be fishing that mid-afternoon to late afternoon, what I would be doing, the water temperatures have risen to that 21-degree mark. Now, I say that with a bit of smile about, because 21 degrees is almost the magic mark for sand whiting on the flats. They technically only want it above 19, but the closer you get to that 21, 22, 23, 24, the more active and the more consistent they'll start to fish. So if I'm fishing Saturday afternoon, that's where I'm going. I'm going the flats on Southwest Arm, Northwest Arm, Bundeena, and if we're in the Botany Bay, the flats along Towra, Warrenora River as well, some nice flats there to be able to target some fish on surface walkers using, I've just gone out and bought some more, the Daiwa Slippery Dog in Annamite colour. That is the killer lure here in the Port Hacking and Botany Bay regions, particularly on whiting, bream, flathead, and as you've seen in previous episodes, big salmon, big kingfish as well. All sorts of fish will absolutely hammer that surface walker. So afternoon fishing, top water, whiting, brim, flathead along the flats, particularly from about 3 o'clock onwards. That's what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that 3 o'clock onwards. The top end of that tide, I'm waiting for it to turn and slowly start to run out. And then I'm going to scurry up on there and start fishing. On the running tide, they do feed the whiting in Sydney. They will feed up on that running tide, but they don't feed as aggressively as that run out tide. The run out tide, they're looking for those last sort of bites and bits of bait before they cannot be on that flat anymore. So they all feed more aggressively and grab your lure if you bring it past them more often than not. So that's why I more prefer that top end of the tide, run out tide, and fish the run out tide, the top of the run out tide for my whiting, rather than waiting for the water to start going onto the flat and following the whiting up onto the flat. I feel like they don't feed as well as they would on that run out tide. So moving on into Sunday and looking at the weather forecast for Sunday, we've got a nice nor'easter that's going to continue out overnight from Saturday night into Sunday morning. And about 10:30 at 11 o'clock, it's going to start to slowly shift to a southerly. So if I'm out fishing, and if I'm going to go out fishing Sunday, I'm going to particularly look at the morning, because the afternoon does not look great. 45, 50 kilometre an hour southerly wind. And if you know a bit about wind patterns and all that sort of stuff, that southerly will generally bring about an afternoon storm. Maybe there might be a bit of rain about, all that sort of stuff. Who knows? But generally that's what it will do. If we shift from a nor'easter to a southerly in the summer, there's normally some kind of storm or rain on its way. So if we're looking at Sunday, let's look at the morning and focus on that morning. The morning run out tide. Now the tide has shifted a little bit more. It's a 3:40 a.m. high tide and a 9 a.m. low tide. So sunrise at about 5:45. We can still go up and target those whiting, like I said, on Saturday afternoon, but on Sunday morning on that tide. So if you're thinking about it, what I would be doing, my plan would be try and get up as early as I can, get out to this flats before sunrise or first light, just before it, head up onto the flats, creep my way up there, be very quiet, very still, target some whiting for about an hour or two, see if you can't get a handful of fish doing that. Once that bite sort of dissipates around 6:30, 7 o'clock, I'll then start targeting my flathead on soft plastics. If you have never caught a fish on a plastic and you're looking to do that, this weekend's great for it. You've got a nice wind, hardly any wind about to be able to push you along, which is great. You can use the tide and you can use your electric motor to get yourself in the right spot. But also we've got a great tide for targeting flathead. It's going to be some great fishing this weekend targeting them. If you're after an extra oversized flathead, 5-inch style jerk shad Daiwa soft plastics also work really well. That 5-inch wave minnow also works really well if you're going to be targeting those bigger flathead, so 70 plus centimeter flathead. They will smash a 5-inch soft plastic quite easily. Again, if you're targeting our 40, 50 centimeter flathead, more of that eating size, 2.5-inch Daiwa flick is a good one. The Daiwa prawn in 2.35 or the 3-inch one, and the wave minnow as well are some great fish. So if you've got a handful of rods, mixing up those soft plastics and making sure that you're fishing those edges, you're going as light as you can. Again, we still want it to be hitting the bottom pretty regularly. So using either a 1/6, a 1/4, and the lightest I would go for targeting flathead is a 1/8 of an ounce. Along those edges, cast it up onto those sand flats and drag it across the sand flat into that water. You'll be surprised if there's no boat traffic or no foot traffic along that sand flat, how far up those flathead will sit on that run out tide. They'll sit up almost on dry sand. And if you can cast up right up to as shallow as you think there might not be a fish there, there will be a flathead there. So, Sunday morning spots. Northwest Arm. There's some flats in Northwest Arm that produce some absolutely amazing flathead. Again, the earlier you fish that area, the better, before the boat traffic that will probably come. Main Bar is another really good one as well. And the flats along Lillypilly there also produce some really nice flathead. Biggest key with all those sorts of flats is go find some places where there's not as much boat traffic. So fishing the morning and going early morning and being off the water by 9:30, 10 o'clock is also another great key to having that successful fishing session. If we're looking at Botany Bay, Towra, now I know I talk about Towra all the time. If you go into Google Maps and you look at Towra, there's some really nice sand flats. And when you look at it on the satellite imagery from above, there's some really nice sand flats and then a drop off. That's where the flathead are. they will just sit there, 21-degree water, Towra, sand flats. You're going to smash some flathead there, 100%. Fishing in between the weed beds. And again, if you're fishing in 2.5, 3 meters and you can see the bottom, trust me, you're still going to catch fish there. Just use your long casts and be nice and stealthy, and you'll be able to still catch some flathead in pretty gin clear water. Don't worry about that. So, recap. Saturday's looking pretty good. We're looking at the run out tide on both mornings, targeting our flathead on the run out tide on both mornings. Saturday afternoon looks pretty good as well, targeting whiting on surface walkers along all the flats, and the back end of that run out tide, along sunset. And then Sunday morning, again, top end of the tide, might be able to get a whiting very early in the morning, then targeting our flathead. Before I leave, I just want to talk to you guys about 7 Seas Apparel. I'm wearing one of 7 Seas Apparel's t-shirts. They're just about to drop a brand new range of fishing jerseys and all brand new clothing ready for you guys for summer. So stick around. Make sure you follow 7 Seas Apparel on Instagram to make sure you're keeping up to date with all of their new merch that is dropping. I'm wearing their t-shirt at the moment. Don't forget, as always, use code REALFISHING10. Save yourself 10% off. There's nothing wrong in saving a little bit of money in the apparel store. And as always, thank you to 7 Seas Apparel for supporting me all the time over all of these years together. Another sponsor I want to talk about is Salty Captain. Again, talked about in the fishing report, that getting off the water at 9 o'clock, 9:30 and being back home by 10:30, back to the family is such a crucial thing, especially in the summer. Staying away from those busy boat traffic areas and being able to still be able to catch some fish is crucial to successful captures. And Salty Captain, once you come off the water, is a quick and easy way to clean your boat, flush your engine out, and get back home ready for your next fishing trip. Takes me about 5 minutes once I'm at the boat ramp and I'm at the cleaning station. Takes me about 5 minutes to wash down the boat, run the motor through with the engine flush system, put all the straps on, and I'm off and racing. I'm off in half the time that everyone else is, and I'm back home. Means I get more fishing time out in the water, and it means I get to go out fishing more because it's a lot easier to be able to clean my boat and get back in on tide. And as always, use code REALFISHING15 to save yourself off 15% anything Salty Captain. Again, the Black Friday sales are coming up, and you can still use that Real Fishing code to save yourself that extra 15% off. Why not? Go ahead, get yourself something from Salty Captain and save you a little bit of money. And that's going to do it for today's episode. Again, we're on our way to 2,000 subscribers. We want to get to 2,000 subscribers by the end of November. November has just started and we're about 180 subscribers away. And I'm sure if you're new to this channel and you enjoy this fishing report and you watched it all the way to this point, it is completely free to click that subscribe button. Leave a comment down below. It'd be great to hear your feedback. What do you want to hear more about in regards to the fishing report? And also let me know how you go out on the weekend. Let me know your plans. Might be able to see you guys out in the water there as well. And as always, we'll see you next week for the fishing report. Peace out.